Hello and welcome back. I have another Princess Elizabeth model here, R.50, and the appropriate tender, R.30 there. Now this one's come in just recently and it's in fairly poor condition. It's not currently running. I'm just going to pop this down. I realised that we did a video earlier in the year with this model where the model was in similar condition, non-running, and we spent a great deal of time restoring it back to a reasonable running condition. So I'm not going to repeat the video, but I will get this one running, but we'll come back to her when she's in that state. But I just want to look at a couple of the differences on these models. Firstly, we'll just have a swift look at the tender. So this is the one we saw in the earlier video, and this is the tender that's just come in with a new non-running model. If we just have a look at the couplings, so I believe that's a Mark 2B coupling with the striker on the bottom there, and this is a slightly earlier one without the striker on the bottom. I'm not sure if the striker was added to give additional weight to stop the coupling jumping up like that, or to improve the reliability on the uncoupling ramps perhaps, but definitely I think that this is a slightly earlier model than this one. So we'll just pop this down. We'll just have a swift look over the tender while we've got it up here near the camera. So it's in fairly nice condition for a model of this age and made out of acetate. I don't think that's a split in the plastic, but the lower half of the tender is just made up of two parts and glued together. The pin here which goes into the drawbar is loose. That's going to require some work again to get that to stay in position. But apart from that, fairly tidy for its age. Again, the heat printing into the body there still shows that the gold or the yellow is mostly gone, sadly. But again, it is some age, this model. Still got the metal buffers in there and a lovely coal load, I think, for the time. So if we pop that down, have a swift look at the locomotive. So I think it's largely the same as the one we saw earlier in the year, with the exception of underneath the cab at the back here, we've got this slot where the drawbar goes through. If we look at that from underneath, you see some warping in that acetate plastic there. Now, I believe the model we looked at earlier in the year is a slightly later variant and has had that slot removed from the moulding. As you can see, this looks like it has been repaired at some point. From what I read, it was very fragile even in the production process in the factory, and breakages did happen. So I think to improve reliability of moulding and production, it was removed, although I'm not quite sure of the date on that. So these models both early 50s, but exact dates not quite sure. But they are fairly nice things. As you see, the other one I did restore it to, sensible running condition for a model of its age, and I believe this one isn't really going to present a problem. So I've just removed the securing screw, very large securing screw that goes down the chimney and holds the chassis and the body moulding together. We'll just pop that down. So if you want to see a dismantling of one of these and cleaning it up in a bit more detail, and the model in general in more detail, have a look at the earlier video. I'll leave a link in the description box. Definitely looks like that's been fixed at some point, doesn't it? I think that's part of the reason it was removed from the moulding, to improve reliability. There's Triang's name, made in England, and there's the model number or catalogue number there, R.50. See if we can hold that in focus for a second. I don't think the model number or Triang's name was on the base of the tender. Let's have a swift look. I don't remember seeing it. I'm fairly sure it isn't. It hasn't even got made in England there. So we'll just pop that down. Again, that is going to need some work there. That's a bit on the loose side. So here's the chassis. So there are some differences or variations in the electrics inside, or maybe the earlier model, but we saw, not earlier model, but the model we saw earlier in the year just had this part missing. If you look at the insert picture, it's a little bit of a different arrangement inside here, but I think everything looks as it should be. The motor looks terribly dry. It does rotate reasonably freely there. Again, the gearing looks very, very dry. The wheels are tremendously dirty, but I don't see why this isn't going to clean up, and it should run very nicely. So if we just pop a little bit of power on the motor here, and we'll see if it does turn. we go. Let's see what we can get here. See if we can get some focus on that. So it's a little bit sparky, isn't it? Let's see if that'll run again. So as I say, it is very, 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 very dry. So I think we'll leave well alone there. Get it cleaned and lubricated. I think we should have some success there. And here they come, this great group of models together on the railway now. Perhaps they could have been seen like this in the early to mid 50s, being in the catalogue at the same time. They're making great progress up the elevated section. The tiniest bit of wheel slip going on there, but to be expected on a model without magnesion. Magnesion came along much later on. Tremendous noise as she comes across the suspension bridge there now. I imagine that's not the sort of noise that a lot want from their models today, but when you're playing with old toys like this, I think it really is all part of the package, to be honest. Now, as she comes under the elevated section there, she's going to pass back down the other side of the station, and we'll get a really good example of how these couplings can be quite unreliable, especially over point work like this. Let's watch this. And there we go. Imagine if we'd wanted that to happen on purpose, it would have taken ages. So here are the boxes for the passenger coaches in SR green we've got on the railway today. R.22, and I believe these were available between 53 and 56, so they were in the catalogue at the same time as the Princess we're looking at today. What I like about these boxes are the prices written on the other end here, and this wonderful piece of Christmas wrapping tape. Look at that. We've got a price of 8 and 3 on that one, and that one. No price on this one. Let's just pop these boxes down for a moment there. I think that's quite a nice thing to find, that piece of Christmas wrapping tape. I wonder what year that was applied to the box. So we'll just pop that down, have a swift look over the coaches here. So I think they're all in much of a muchness, in terms of condition. They're all slightly worn. The running numbers are largely, the colouring's faded away, but the impression into the plastic where it's been printed on is still there. They have basic glazing units, no interior detail. Let's have a look underneath there. We have Triang, made in England, Triang R.21. Now that's the model number for the red and cream coach we saw in the video earlier in the year with the other Princess. If you look at the insert picture, you can see those red and cream coaches running with that Princess. So I believe it's the same moulding used to develop these coaches. That's fairly interesting stuff. So we'll put this down and have a swift look over the other one. There's a little bit more colouring left on this one. There we go. Let's turn that the other way up. We've got Triang, made in England again, Triang R.21, and made in England. So definitely open axle boxes here. Sleeved wheels, a little bit stiff, so maybe some work will need to be done to get those to run. There's some slight reticulation in the paintwork there, isn't there? Coupling's in fairly tidy condition, I think, there. So we'll just pop that one down and have a swift look at this last one here. Again, not much of the yellow left here, but there is an impression there in the plastic. You can just see where the running number was printed there. And again, that sort of reticulation in the paint there. All the bogies are in a very nice condition on these models. These axles seem in a little bit better condition than the previous one we just looked at. Again, just a little bit on the stiff side there, so perhaps a little cleaning needed there. I wonder if the roof will pop off. Let's have a look. I think, yeah, there we go. I was wondering whether they were glued or not. Sometimes these early ones are glued. There we go. Let's just pop that down for a second. So I'm not sure whether these are acetate or polystyrene. Let's have a look there, but certainly less warping going on with these than the red and cream ones we saw earlier in the year. Let's just pop that down. And then we've got that very basic glazing strip in here. Just a folded piece of acetate with the detail for obscuring the windows just simply sprayed on. I think that's very ingenious. And off they go again. We've got them all coupled up again. Now, I didn't buy any of these models with the hope of having smooth running models. They were just a part of the collection really, and the Princess just another step change in its development. And if they will run, it is nice to have them running. And I've had a great deal of fun this afternoon just bringing the model back to life, just to get her to run around the layout, and it's very pleasing and very satisfying. It also has to be said, it was not very expensive either. I think the model was less than the price of a very good XO4 motor, and as you see, we do have some degree of running here. A little bit bumpy at times. Look at that, straight through points number 8 there onto the inside line. Those coaches just about dealing with it, perhaps a little bit more reliable than those Playcraft car transporters we saw just a short time ago. And I love that reflection on the side of the coach as she passes the signals. We're going to bring her gently to a stop at the station here and see if we can get them to uncouple intentionally using the electronic uncoupling ramp there. Nice gentle stop. And we'll take out the tension in the coupling. And I think we've got that there. And off we go. Smoothly around that second radius curve again. Lovely sound from the model, especially when you've got the body shell back on. And there she is, running pretty well, as we've seen on the layout there. I think that's been a great deal of fun to do. Had some terrific fun on the layout with the model. A little bit unpredictable with the couplings at times, but I think that's to be expected when using the Mark II couplings. So we'll just pop that down, have a swift look at the tender. So more specifically, we've improved this pin here. We've fixed it so it's not wobbling around too much. So we've got a nice reliable connection between the two parts of the model. And I think that's probably it for this week. Thanks again for watching, it's hugely appreciated. And if you look back again next time, we'll have something else from the range to look at. Goodbye now.